day, my child, take a seat. Let me read you a story from my book. Chapter The Encounter. In the quiet town of Willowbrook, where life moved at a leisurely pace, a captivating love story unfolded, one that would soon be whispered about by everyone in town. It all began on a warm, sunlit afternoon at a local coffee shop, where the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. Sarah, a vivacious and ambitious young woman, was engrossed in her laptop, working on her latest marketing project, sipping on her cappuccino. Her hazel eyes were focused on her screen when suddenly a deep voice interrupted her thoughts. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" The voice belonged to James, a tall and ruggedly handsome man with piercing blue eyes. Sarah glanced up to find him holding a cup of coffee, his lips curved into a charming smile. She was momentarily taken aback by his striking presence, but managed to invite him to share her table. They started with small talk, discussing the weather, and slowly their conversation drifted into more personal territory. James, an engineer in town for a short project, was drawn to Sarah's intelligence and wit. Sarah, an independent woman dedicated to her career, found herself unexpectedly intrigued by James's passion for travel and adventure. As the hours passed, it became clear that they shared a connection that went beyond coffee shop pleasantries. Little did they know, this fateful encounter was the beginning of a love story that would set the town abuzz. In the weeks that followed their initial meeting, Sarah and James found themselves drawn together like magnets. Their relationship deepened with each passing day, and it became apparent to everyone who knew them that they were head over heels in love. Willowbrook, a town where everyone knew each other's business, couldn't help but revel in the sweetness of their budding romance. Sarah introduced James to her close-knit circle of friends, and he, in turn, welcomed her into his world. They spent weekends exploring nearby hiking trails, watching sunsets, and sharing their dreams and aspirations. It wasn't long before Sarah realized that she had fallen headlong for this man, and James found himself utterly captivated by her vivacity and charm. Their love seemed like an unbreakable bond, strong enough to conquer anything that might come their way. However, no love story is without its complexities, and this one was no exception. Sarah's best friend, Emma, had been a part of her life since they were children. They were inseparable, and Emma had always been Sarah's confidant, sharing secrets and dreams. Little did Sarah know that her growing affection for James would lead to a twist in the tale, one that would introduce the first hints of a love triangle. As Sarah's relationship with James deepened, she couldn't help but notice a subtle shift in her friendship with Emma. Their conversations grew shorter, and Emma seemed distant, as if harboring an unspoken secret. One evening, after James had left Sarah's apartment, Emma confronted her with a look of concern. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something," Emma began hesitantly. "I've noticed that you've been spending so much time with James lately, and I can't help but feel left out. It's like you've forgotten about our friendship." Sarah was taken aback by Emma's words. She hadn't realized the strain her relationship with James had put on her friendship with Emma. She reassured Emma that their friendship was irreplaceable and that James was simply a new addition to her life. Emma seemed to accept Sarah's explanation, but the unease between them lingered like a shadow. Meanwhile, James was also grappling with his own set of concerns. He had met Sarah's ex-boyfriend, Mark, at a community event, and there was an unmistakable tension in the air. Mark, a successful lawyer in town, couldn't hide his jealousy as he watched Sarah and James together. He had never truly moved on from their past relationship and saw James as a threat to his chances of winning Sarah back. Mark's jealousy only intensified as he observed the undeniable connection between Sarah and James. He couldn't fathom how someone like James could have captured Sarah's heart so completely. Mark decided it was time to confront Sarah about his feelings, and he arranged to meet her at their favorite local park. Under the shade of a towering oak tree, Mark bared his soul to Sarah. He confessed that he still loved her and couldn't stand the thought of her being with James. Sarah was torn between her past and her present, feeling the weight of her history with Mark and her newfound love for James. She didn't want to hurt Mark, who had once been a significant part of her life, but her heart belonged to James now. Mark's plea deepened the complexity of the love triangle, creating a rift between the three of them. As he walked away from the park, a heavy silence settled over Sarah and James. Their love, once so carefree, was now tinged with guilt and uncertainty. As Sarah grappled with the emotional turmoil caused by Mark's confession, she knew that she couldn't keep her feelings hidden any longer. She decided to sit down with James and tell him about the ultimatum Mark had given her. With a heavy heart, she explained the difficult choice that lay ahead. "James, I never expected to be in a situation like this," Sarah began. "Mark told me he still loves me and wants me back, and he's given me an ultimatum. He said I have to choose between you and him." James listened attentively, his face clouded with concern. He knew that he couldn't ask Sarah to make such a choice, but he also couldn't deny the pain that Mark's presence brought into their lives. The love triangle had become a knot of emotions, and the time had come for Sarah to make a decision that would change everything. Sarah's heart was torn between two men who held significant places in her life. On one hand, there was James, who had brought joy and love into her world. On the other hand, Mark was a part of her history, and the thought of hurting him weighed heavily on her. As she grappled with the decision, she turned to Emma for support and guidance. Emma, still harboring her own feelings for Sarah, found herself in a difficult position. She wanted to be there for her best friend, but also couldn't deny her own unresolved emotions. She encouraged Sarah to follow her heart, even if it meant choosing James, but deep down, she hoped that Sarah would choose her. The town of Willowbrook buzzed with rumours about the love triangle. It seemed like everyone had an opinion on who Sarah should choose, and the pressure continued to mount. As the days passed, Sarah's heartache grew, and the love triangle's grip on their lives tightened. After much soul-searching, Sarah knew that she couldn't deny her true feelings. She couldn't go back to her past with Mark, no matter how deep their history ran. She realised that her heart belonged to James, and she made the painful decision to end her relationship with Mark. When she told him, he was devastated, but understood that he couldn't force her into a relationship she didn't want. Sarah's choice, while freeing her to fully embrace her love with James, didn't come without consequences. Her friendship with Emma remained strained, as Emma had hoped that the love triangle would tip in her favour. It was a heart-wrenching situation for all involved, but Sarah and James were determined to make their love story work. With Mark no longer a part of their lives, Sarah and James could finally focus on building their future together. They had faced the challenges of a love triangle and come out stronger on the other side. Willowbrook, initially the backdrop for their tangled love story, now witnessed a love that had overcome obstacles and remained unbreakable. Their love story became an inspiration to others in town, a testament to the power of following one's heart. As Sarah and James continued to explore life together, they learned that love, when nurtured and cherished, could conquer even the most complicated of situations. In the end, this love triangle had transformed into a love story that was no longer whispered about in hushed tones, but celebrated for its strength and resilience. Sarah, James, and Emma each found their own paths to happiness, proving that sometimes the most complex of love stories can have the happiest of endings. Grandma loved for you to subscribe to her channel. She appreciates like-minded person like you. In adding value to our channel, we appreciate you liking this content also. Grandma loved telling stories to you, my dear. Also, please type in the comment where you're listening this story from, and tell her how you felt about this story in the comment area. Grandma will respond to you.